excited to welcome to the podcast Leah Fogarty from Between the Ears, a personal and performance psychologist. Welcome to the podcast, Leah.
Kate, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's one of those things that I sit there going, I love exchanging experiences and ideas, and let's have some fun. Let's see where this takes us.
Let's have some fun. So you're a sports psychologist, which is very exciting to me because I love sport, and anybody who knows me knows that I would like you to go and do some work with Port Adelaide Football Club right now. But I don't know if people always understand what sports psychology is, and I'd love you to share with us.
For sure. It's one of those things, Kate, that a lot of people don't know what my job is. A lot of the times they think I'm that person who goes in and motivates, or I'm the person who deals with all the problem athletes, the Tiger Woods, the Ben Cousins, those ones who are in the media. First of all, I'd like to also qualify, I'm a performance psychologist. I like to broaden that a little bit because obviously, yes, my background is in sport and I do love working with the sporting world. May that be athletes, coaches, umpires. But definitely, I'm very much a performance psychologist who helps people to be more aware of who they are, given their history, given their current circumstances, and also where they want to go, what they want to achieve. Now, with that, of course, there's so many levels to it. I like them to, first of all, think about their health. Yeah. So are they a healthy person? And that could be in regards to physical health, mental health, emotional health, in regards to also their heart. What is their passion? What is their desires? What is the things they want to achieve? And then, like I said, in regards to the emotionality, the mindset, all that comes with it, which can either help us achieve our dreams or hold us back. I also work in that space as well. So I cater for anyone involved in the sporting world to live their dreams.
Fantastic. And so what does that look like on a day for you? Like, what does it look like?
It can vary from day to day. At the moment, I sort of share my services between one-on-one counselling, may that be in Malvern in my rooms or on telehealth. Mm-hmm. It can be going and doing workshops. It could be going to training. And it used to be in the past a lot more travel in regards to traveling with competitions and all that. But it does vary. I'm also now branching into doing a lot more online program work. And my website is currently getting a little bit of a makeover. And I'm waiting for then the online portals to be sort of put in so then people can actually come and work with me online in that sort of format, not just one-on-one. Yeah. So it varies from day to day. Because of that performance banner, I could be working with an athlete 1 minute, I could work with a CEO the next, I could be working with a doctor the next. Because again, it's anyone who's in a performance role. That's who I cater for, someone who wants to become better in what they're already doing.
That's fantastic. And you've also worked with elite sporting clubs though as well, haven't you?
So I certainly have. Yeah. In regards to my background in netball, yeah, I was privileged enough to move over to Melbourne and start after my master's working through the VAS as a contractor there. And so my links with netball have been through Netball Victoria, Netball Australia, some of the SSN clubs, the VNL pathway as well, which is the Victorian Netball League. So yeah, all the whole hierarchy, even down. I mean, there's some clubs who contact me as well in regards to certain things, but yeah, all the way up the ladder. It just depends on who's requiring or needing my services. That obviously, I don't just work in netball. That's branched out. I mean, you could probably name any sport, and I've probably worked with someone at some point in time. At the moment, I'm an AFL players contracted psychologist as well. I work with lots of tennis athletes. I work with lots of basketballers. So it just depends on the time of who, and a lot of it is word of mouth. It's someone who's already worked with me, with a lot of the girls who, ladies who are cross-coding from netball and basketball to football. That's happening as well. So then it's suddenly my name gets put out there. And this is where we were even talking out before we started this chat about how did I come about on your radar? And this is the thing, we just pop up at times. So it is, I just love what I do because of my history in sport myself, but just to see these people shine even brighter and get the joy out of it. I mean, that's what I think we're all here to do, is to provide a service where someone else feels really good, but it also makes us feel good.
It's a win-win.
So it's a privilege, exactly. It's a privilege.
It is a win-win. So you're working across sport and corporates, CEOs and into medical clinical areas as well. what's the one underlying thing there? Because there must be, because we're human, aren't we? Yeah.
We're human, which means we have a fear brain. So if we have a fear brain, the biggest thing that most people deal with is a fear of something, and therefore the consequence of that, I should say, is anxiety.
Yeah.
So across the board, I mean, I've also worked in the school system. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, anxiety is sort of one of those things that we've learnt to fear itself, hence panic attacks. But this is where I feel my job a lot of the times is to educate people about that survival brain, the fear brain that we've got, because it's there to help us survive. It's not there to actually cause us harm or to hold us back. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of people who are suffering with intense anxiety. And then we're also seeing a lot of people not achieve their dreams because of the fears that they have.
Yes.
So across the board, the epidemic would be fear and anxiety.
That makes so much sense. So performance is then hampered dramatically as a result of
very
fear
much
and anxiety.
Biggest handbrake.
Yeah.
In regards to some of your work, what would you say the biggest fear factor is? What are most people scared of when it comes to performance, when it comes to going out there and providing a service?
It's the fear that I see, because of most of my work sort of, it starts in that conflict space. And the conflict comes often because we're not having the conversations we need to have. So I think the fear is of rejection. I think there is a fear of rejection. Yeah. And I think there's a fear of our power sometimes. I think that a lot of people don't step into their power. They hide from it. And sometimes you can look at a person and go, you are so powerful, and you're using it in reverse.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think people are terrified of rejection.
Yeah.
And so they don't say what they want to say, and they don't know how to say, they don't know how to give feedback. They don't know how to call something out. And so they say, well, I won't say anything, which is, I think, worse, because then we don't talk to people we talk about.
Correct. I mean, this is just the behavioral response of that fear, which is the story, anxiety, which is the chemical and energetic reaction. And then the behavioral response is what you're talking about there. We've got either the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, or flop. And so in regards to that, like you're saying, they're so scared that they actually probably freeze or they run, flight.
Yeah.
The thing is, that doesn't get us anywhere.
No.
It helped us when there was a saber-toothed tiger coming at us, which is real danger. But when it's a fear thought about a potential outcome that could happen, and like you said, the outcome is normally rejection, disappointment, rejection. Do you understand where this, if we pulled the thread on that further, where that really goes?
No, tell me.
So think about it. If I get rejected or disappoint someone who's in my tribe, what could happen to me?
You might be left behind.
Yeah, I could be excluded, kicked out. Yeah. Then where does that leave me for my survival?
Yeah, it's too dangerous.
That's it. Exactly that. So then suddenly that becomes a real and present danger, that if I'm all alone, and that is why then this fear of the rejection, the disappointment, whatever it is, it literally consumes a person as if I've already been kicked out, as if I'm already by myself. And that is why they just shut down.
Yeah.
It is. Fear is on a existential level. It is an attachment sort of connection, isn't there? Like we're saying, we need people. You know, safety is not is not the absence of threat. It's the presence of connection. It's having someone there to hold my hand or to know that we can go through this together.
Yeah.
And if we're worried that I've done something which I could get rejected or disappoint someone, then no wonder then that it consumes me, it overwhelms me. So definitely survival. And if we even went further back, if we're taking this individual who could be a professional who was one of your clients, or in my situation, an athlete, a coach, an umpire, it goes back to the family of origin.
Yes.
Because if they've actually been given an idea of if you do X, then there's going to be disappointment and rejection, then suddenly then it's not just about survival. I mean, survival, yes, because they're our primary caregivers. It's also a love concept, isn't it? That love's taken away.
Yes.
So it is. It's a big fear itself. They say the only thing to fear is fear itself. We need to make friends with it. We need to understand why it's there. And once we do that and conceptualize it, it makes it so much easier. For me, the biggest, and in regards to athletes and sports, you know, how many of your clients would go to work and have to do every Monday a review of last week's performance on video and then all the statistics laid out in front of them.
No, none, nobody.
So what I'm alluding to here is that a lot of my athletes and clients, their biggest fear, if we were going to like really figure out what is the actual thing, is a fear of failure, fear of mistakes.
Yeah.
And so again, it's all ties to the same thing. If I make mistakes, if I'm up on that, and this is during a game, I'm working with a AFLW captain at the moment, and she was reflecting on last season. They made the finals, but she could see even in the replay, everyone was scared. Fear of failure.
Yeah.
They've brought that into the preseason. She said in a couple of their drills already, she's seeing it again. And so that's why she wanted to bring it up with me. And I was saying to her, the thing is, you guys will make a mistake on the field during a game. It's televised, plus it's televised on the screen. So you even get to see it yourself. So you're literally seeing the immediate feedback of you screwing up. That immediately sends that pain of cortisol, adrenaline, fear, guilt through their body. And therefore they go out there and how they're supposed to be free and play better. So again, we've got to get them to be friends with this sort of fear of failure. And this is where I suppose, I always equate failure to the other F word. I'm not going to swear, but that will be associated quite a lot. So I've reframed it and said to them, no, let's not use the F word. Let's use 3 other F words when it comes to failure. First of all, let's make it fun. Because again, go back to school, primary school. It wasn't fun, was it? We either got to pass or fail.
Yeah.
We would get top of the class, bottom of the class. There was all this outcomes and ranking and an achievement-based sort of focus. But yet when we were a little kid, and I saw a video on social media recently of a little kid who was learning how to ride a bike, and he fell off. He must have just come off his training wheels, and he fell off for the first time, and he got up and he did a little dance. Now, normally we would think that the kid would fall off and do what?
Yeah.
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 And then he'd be scared about, am I going to get in trouble and things like that? But no, when we're that age, we're malleable. We bounce back. It's only when we go into the school system, and that's trained into us for how many years? 12 years at least for most of us, that there is this fear of failure. And then, like I said, combine that with the sports world. This is why fear of failure is the biggest thing that I deal with a lot of athletes and coaches. But going back to what I said, we've got to then go back to that little kid. We're going to make it fun again. So fun relates to laughter. So with this particular captain, I was talking to her about, have they ever gone out there and said, we want to do this drill the worst we can possibly do it? She goes, no way. And I said, try it. See who can kick the ball the worst. See who can actually bounce the ball so it goes the opposite direction, not the way you want it to. Like all these things. And she said she tried it just personally, and she goes, it was hilarious. I couldn't do it. So sit with that. When you try to not do the thing well, you actually do it well. But she said it just freed her because it was like she was giving herself permission to screw up. But fun is laughter. And so I also talked to her about what's something that you need to talk about with the ladies that they do, that when they screw up, it makes them laugh. So it could be something like when you see someone slipping over on ice and stuff like that, or, doing something stupid. That's what we need to sort of bring into the sport in some way. I'm not saying onto the performance field, but more in regards to the training track. So definitely fun is the first one. The second one is more in regards to forward. That failure needs to be having this concept of it doesn't make us stuck or make us go backwards. It actually makes us go forward. And this is sort of the Carol Dweck growth mindset sort of concept where we see the gains. It shouldn't be win and lose. It should be win and learn, the gain and the pain, that sort of stuff. And so again, if they can take the teachings out of it, fantastic. And then the last F is make it fast. So actually speed up this sort of learning loop of useless failures. So that you learn from it, you grow from it, you become better from it. And then I say to them, you got to repeat that indefinitely. So it's reprogramming it. But then one last thing, courage is the behavioral mechanism of the antidote to fear. So courage is to act in spite of fear. So going back to this AFLW captain, we spoke about what's a behavioral thing that they can do, that when someone screws up, what can they do? First thing was, she said, I want to go up to that person straight away and give them a high five. Because you don't see that. You see someone high-fiving after a goal, don't you?
Yeah.
But they're going to start high-fiving after a screw-up because it's, again, a learning point. But the other thing is to lean in. They're behaviourally, she said, they're going to have that as a sort of a thing that they're going to lean in every time that they see someone who's scared. It's like lean into it. I know that's been a very, a catchphrase for the organizational world for a long time now. But I gave her the notion of when you're leaning in, pretend that you're on a cliff edge and you're going to lean in, but you're going to be scared, aren't you? Because you could fall. But the whole idea is you're supposed to be able to trust each other and trust yourself that even if you fall, you're still going to be okay.
Because we've got you.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's that presence of connection.
Yeah.
So it is the 3 F's instead of the 1 F that normally follows failure.
That's fantastic. I love that. And that's got my brain going big time because I'm trying to think about that in the corporate world.
Yes.
And so how do you apply that in that space? Is it similar?
Yeah. So I know that there was one of the Silicon Valley tech companies, it might have been Google, they used 1 day a week, or it might be an hour a week, where they get all their creatives in and say, come up with the worst idea. So they make it fun. And that person gets an award for the worst idea.
Yeah.
So that could be something where they go, it's like one of those bubble sessions, but there's no limits. Come up with the worst, like I said about my athletes, actually do your worst skills, and they cannot do it. Your brain won't allow you. It actually wants to still go. By saying you're allowed to do your worst, it frees them. So that could be the one in regards to fun.
Yeah.
In regards to forward, that's the feedback concept, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's being able to give feedback really, really well. Just pausing there. In regards to your experience, your profession, is feedback a big section that you talk about with your clients?
We talk about a lot. Yeah. It's huge because it's where things tend to go awry.
Yeah. Do you then have a generic framework, or is it main key points that you'd say this is
Main
what we
key
need to do?
points. Main key points about being curious instead of. So I often think that if you're thinking in statements, you are thinking in judgment, which means
well done.
you've already closed off your thinking and you've decided something, and it's probably wrong.
Yep.
You've probably misunderstood somebody's intention.
Yeah.
So if you think in questions, then you're remaining curious.
Yes.
And you're owning that there's a whole heap of things you don't know, because we don't know. But I think that our brains quickly go to judgment because we're always trying to save energy and protect ourselves and looking for danger. So we go to judgment, but it's not, particularly in a leadership space, it's not a good place to be. You want to remain curious, but you've got to train yourself to think in questions.
Yeah, well done.
And so then we can go in, I wonder why this happened, or what was going on for you when this happened. Like just ask lots of questions, but also be really mindful of the tone of voice that you use, because you can sound critical and be curious, but you're not really being curious. You're being critical, but pretending. But so I'm very much about looking after people. Like, are you okay? Is what's going on for you? What don't I know? Help me understand what was going on in that moment. What could we do? What do you want to do about it? Like,
nice.
You don't have to fix things.
No, it's a collaborative process. And I love it how you spoke then about the phrase is that sometimes people don't hear you because they're actually being distracted by who you're being.
Yes.
So meaning, like you said, the energy, the intensity, the volume or tone of voice. But the other thing that came to mind for me is when you said the curiosity, Walt Whitman's phrase, be curious, not judgmental.
Yeah.
That should be something that a majority of organizations have for everyone. Because like you said, judgmental is just our shortcutting way of our brain to save energy, same time, all that. But exactly that, we miss vital pieces of the information. And therefore, we're not there, we're not present, we're not actually getting what we need to be the team that we want to be.
Absolutely. So I'm just thinking about that and where I sit in the ground when I watch Port Adelaide play, and there's a person behind me who just yells abuse.
Uh-huh.
And so you're in an environment on playing a game and you've got your team and we all care about each other, but you're also surrounded by this wall of potentially disappointed people who display their disappointment in pretty ugly ways.
Yeah.
How do players protect themselves from that?
Yeah. There's two things that come to mind there for me. One is in regards to just first and foremost that emotional response that you will get when someone is attacking you. Mm-hmm. Like we just said before, the cortisol, the adrenaline, that will be triggered straight away. And so therefore you will either fight, flight or freeze. So it's about that piece of emotional intelligence. being able to help them to be aware of who they are and have that self-direction, have that self-empowerment of being able to calm themselves down even if they are being held abuse. That's massive. But at the same time, these are athletes who have been out there on the football, netball, hockey, soccer pitch, wherever it is.
Yeah.
And they have been dealing with these highs of intensity of emotion and then being able to bring them back down. So this is why we say that going out and exercising is one of the best, stress experiences you can have, because it gives us that variation of going up and then coming down.
Yeah.
Yes, they can do that. If it's personal, then that's even harder, because then it's not just a generic, hey, we're just sledging you. If it's really cutting, it's hard for them to sort of brush it off. But on a conceptual level, what I normally help them understand is that in life, generally, there will always be 5 people whose opinion of you really matters. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, Kate. At the moment, who comes to mind for you that their opinion of you really matters? And stay in the performance mode. So you as a CEO, you as the head of Hustle.
Yeah. Oh, there'd be some clients that would come to mind because I've worked with them for a long time. So my performance would be that.
Yep.
There'd be my team.
Yeah.
Yeah, my team is somebody that I very much value their opinion, and I want to do a good job for them.
Well done.
And I want to have their opinion matters to me a great deal. Yeah, very much in that CEO mindset.
Yeah, and see how you went straight to client, and client, they're the people that help you stay in business.
Yeah.
In your survival. So we're back there, aren't we? And then you said about your employees, the team, they're the people that you love.
Yes.
So we're back there again to the survival and love concept.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, if Joe Blow, who walks down the street, or someone who listens to one of these podcasts, is a keyboard warrior and gives you a bit of a sledge, now that you've identified whose opinion of you really matters, you could walk through that yourself, couldn't you? You'd still take it to heart and go, oh, that's not nice. I don't like that. But then if you reminded yourself that actually their opinion of me doesn't matter, they can walk away from it. I know a lot of athletes at the highest level will actually block social media, things like that, so they just don't hear that noise. But like you said, when you're at a competition and there's people there who are emotionally activated because of what they're seeing, and they will actually put something out there, and if you're in close enough distance and you hear it, but like I said, that's just part of the game, isn't it? It's part of the thing. But as long as they can emotionally manage themselves and remember who really matters. Peter Brock, he said, what everyone else thinks of me is none of my business.
And
so that's the thing. As long as those 5 people, so in the sporting world, that might be the coach, it might be the teammates, it might be their partner, it might be their children. See what I mean? They can identify them. And so if they come to me going, oh, I'm caught up with this person who's saying this, or this journalist who's written this article, we just come back to that simple phrase. Whose opinion of you really matters? Yeah.
So there's so many things here. So one of the things we haven't talked about, and I think that trust around the high fives, it's the team, we've got your back. Because if you are in a team and you're terrified of being rejected, then it's the role of the leader then to keep working on building the team strength. How do leaders do that? How do you build trust within a team?
In regards to, before I actually go into how do we build it, trust, and you must see this as well. I have so many athletes or employees who will easily leave a job because of the manager or their coach. Whereas they also will stay because of their manager or coach.
Yes.
And what's the thread there is that they trust them or they don't trust them. So trust it is one of the most pivotal things that a leader can, as you said, develop, not just in their player, between the players, and for them to also trust the process, trust the plan, trust what they're work doing together. The thing about trust developing trust. So some of the neurobiology frameworks say that our trust radar starts when we first meet a person, within the 250 milliseconds of meeting them. So when we started our conversation today, being our first meeting, my eyes would have interpreted your face and your eyes would have interpreted mine. And straight away, there is something from our inheritance, from our genetics, that either would have said, oh, I feel comfortable and safe with this person, or I don't. 250 milliseconds. The second part is in regards to then there's an energy that comes with trust as well. And if you've ever heard of the Heart Math Institute, they actually look at the heart resonance. So our heart has its own electromagnetic field, so does our brain. The heart's electromagnetic field is something like 100 times stronger than the brain's. So when you've gone to a party or you've gone to a conference or something and you've met someone for the first time, and yes, our brain has assessed their facial, but you might have spoken to them for maybe 2 minutes. You walk away either feeling, oh, that person was really nice, or they weren't. That's the electromagnetic fields are actually talking or singing or dancing with each other, or they're repelling. Yeah, exactly. When you get that vibe about someone. Yeah. So they're the first two. And again, we can't develop that. That's innate, isn't it? It's ingrained in us. But that's something that needs to happen. I love it. My husband will always say to me, there'll be certain people that come on the TV screens and I'll just say straight away, oh, I don't like the look of them. Because I'm in tune with that in regards to there's something about my biology, my history, whatever, genetics, my ancestors, my previous lives, whatever it is, that looks at that person and goes, oh, I don't like them. Can't stand them. So that's the first part. Not workable, not developing. However, on a development level, I explain to athletes and coaches and umpires, trust is very much tied to confidence. So if we trust something, it means we have a high confidence in it. If we have high confidence in something, we can trust it, can't we? So therefore, trust and confidence doesn't mean I know what's going to happen. Trust and confidence is I know what you're going to do and what I'm going to do when it happens. Mm-hmm. So does that make sense? Life is uncertain. Life is unpredictable. That's guaranteed. But trust and confidence is I know you well enough that I know how you're going to respond and react, and you should know me as well, and therefore we're going to get through this together. Yeah. To help get through that together, have you heard of Brené Brown?
Yes.
Okay, so beautiful Brené Brown, shame and vulnerability, all that sort of stuff. She came up with a concept called braving, which actually operationalized trust. And so I share that. I did it recently with a group of VNL umpires, Victorian Netball League umpires, because they were talking about how umpiring is such a lonely business. They're on one side of the court just doing their job. And yes, they've got a co-umpire, but then they've got a squad and then they've got their coaches as well. And so in regards to this whole dynamic, we were trying to foster more of a team environment. And so we said at the heart of every team is trust. So I provided them that braving concept and they grabbed onto it. They love it. Yeah. So to have something where you can literally give them a framework and go, if you can think about all these things of that other person, do they have good boundaries? Are they reliable? Are they accountable? Are they a vault? They good secret keeper? Have they got good integrity? Have they non-judgmental and are they generous? But the key piece for me is for you to be able to assess someone else as trustworthy, you got to do yourself first.
Yeah.
So it's that whole start with you in regards to, am I able to be trusted on these levels? If not, pick up your game. But as I said, if you can look out there and go, okay, we're going to develop that as a team. Yeah. Have we got good boundaries? Do we do what we say? When we are actually screwing up, going back to the fear of failure, when we screw up, do we put a hand up and go, yep, my bad. But hey, guess what? Thanks. Let's have a look at this. Let's learn from it and grow from it. Yeah. So it all ties in together. But that's the way I do it. Yeah. Is there any other way that you've thought of?
No, I think that sums it up. I think that sums it up beautifully. I think the accountability. Everybody wants greater accountability in workplaces. And in order to be more accountable, we've got to be more vulnerable and we've got to own stuff. And then it comes back to that fear of rejection again.
Correct. Yeah.
But I think when we name these things, when we talk about them, they become less scary. It's when we hide things. I talk about conflict is usually silent. And so everyone thinks it's noisy. It's not. It's silent. It's thoughts in people's heads.
All the stories and narratives that are playing out. And some of those stories and narratives, though, are not actually created from here. No. They're born previously. Yeah. And yet they're just being reinforced or re-triggered here. Yep. And that's where, going back to Brené, actually going to quote her again. Have you ever heard the phrase then, I'm making up the story? Yeah. Do you use that a lot with your clients?
I don't use it up a lot, but it's true. It is. Yeah. It's that I'm making up a story to fill in this gap because I don't know. So, but I feel safer if I've got a story, if I've got something to hang on to.
That's right.
Yeah.
People are more, and this goes back to the feedback concept too. I've had experiences where it's been horrendous, where coaches, athletes, umpires, anyone, they, like you mentioned before, were scared to speak up, scared to put it out there. That is the worst thing you could ever do.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest advice when I work with anyone is like, when they say, what can we do with feedback? And I said, give it.
Yes.
Give it. That should be your first thing. Just do it. Give it. Because if you don't, that person's stories are going to dominate. And that is going to be the thing that, like cancer, tears you apart. So you have to give it. But again, like you said, some people don't know how to give it. Hence why I asked about, have you got a particular framework?
Yeah. And I've got a framework called VALID, which is around validation and teaching people how to validate, because I don't think people know how to do it.
Yeah.
But when people tell you their story, it's their truth.
Yes.
And their truth might change.
Correct.
It might change overnight. And that's okay too, because they've thought about it, they've processed it, other information's become to light, a whole heap of things. But when somebody's telling you their story, it's their truth. Believe them. And then you can work with them, because now we've got greater trust.
Yes.
Because I'm not telling you that they're wrong, or I believe you.
Yeah.
Okay. And now we can work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very powerful. It's very powerful.
Good.
We have to call this to a close, but I think we could talk for hours.
I just say that myself. I feel like we've only had a little scratch.
I know. We might have to get you back on. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm a wannabe psychologist. I failed statistics twice, which is why I'm not a psychologist.
Research methods gets all of them.
Yeah, that was it. So then I went off and studied politics instead, and then became a mediator. So, but I love politics, because politics is how do you look after people. And to me, psychology is about how do you look after people. It's just, it's better understanding, like Sherlock Holmes, like, why do we do what we do? And I love that. So thank you so much for sharing your extraordinary wealth of knowledge. It has been such a delight to have this conversation. And I do think we might have to get you back. And also I might need to get you to come to Adelaide and have a talk to those port people.
It's funnily enough, I do have a very good friend who's a Adelaidean. She's a Essendon supporter, mind you. And so I do head over there a couple of times, but you never know. We might have to have a podcast in person.
We might. Very, very good. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for everything you're doing in this space in regards to giving the opportunity for professionals like myself, and probably a broad spectrum, to come and share their experiences and knowledge as well. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Cheers.